Hi, I'm Ola Lasar, president of the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. While 2021 certainly didn't give us everything we wanted in our industry, we've done some really great work around the country, and I'd like to acknowledge that now. In states from California to New York, Kentucky, South Dakota, Oregon, and really the list goes on, we were on the ground working hard on behalf of the industry. Our national Regulate CBD Now campaign has brought some great public pressure to the FDA to provide reasonable, fair regulation of CBD products. And we also have worked very hard to continue fighting for the passage of the Safe Banking Act, which will be incredibly important to our industry. Finally, we have had so many great meetings and discussions with members of the U.S. House and Senate and have really garnered some great support for our legislation. One of the things I'm personally really proud of is our work to try to move things forward for minority and disenfranchised communities who want to and should be more involved with our industry. Finally, I'd like to take a moment to thank some of the folks behind the scene. There are so many of you that do so much, and let me just start with all of you out in the public who pick up the phone, call your congressional offices, send emails, get involved with the Regulate CBD Now campaign, etc. All of that is critically important to the success of this organization. But there are also a few folks that work day to day behind the scenes. Caitlin Wired and Brooke Parker Robertson from Frost Brown Todd really keep the wheels on the bus, folks, and keep everything running smoothly and make everything happen for us. Alyssa Erickson, our public affairs person, and Carrie Hinkle from membership are both fairly new to the organization and have been doing a fantastic job. Rend Almondry, we could not have the success without her brilliance and her calm leadership on FDA issues. She's our FDA counsel and she's incredible. And of course, Jonathan Miller, our general counsel for the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, who is the voice and the face of this organization and really makes everything happen. There are so many other people that I don't have the time to mention, but I did want to acknowledge those folks for their day-to-day constant work with our organization. So for all of you, happy holidays. Let's hope for really big things in 2022 and just appreciate all of our members and folks that stay involved and make everything happen with our organization. We are the voice of this industry, and I'm really proud of the work that I do and very honored to have been able to serve you in this capacity for the last 2 years. Thanks, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year from the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. I'm Jonathan Miller, the General Counsel of the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, sitting here in our Washington, D.C. office. We're moving full speed ahead into 2022 with tremendous momentum and a whole lot to do. But first of all, I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you to all of our members, advocacy partners, and hemp supporters across the country. You make our work here at the U.S. Hemp Roundtable possible. Your continued advocacy, action, and engagement makes the legislators and policymakers across the country pay attention. From state policy to federal legislation, see how your advocacy has made an impact across the nation in our 2021 Hemp Rerun. While 2020 was a difficult year in state legislatures due to the almost singular focus on COVID remediation, we were able to make a big comeback in 2021. Most excitingly, we helped secure passage in California of AB 45, the culmination of a 3-year effort led by the U.S. Hemp Roundtable and local hemp organizations that ultimately ended the prohibition on retail sales of CBD products. This was so crucial in that California is not only the largest state in the country, it's also the world's 5th largest economy, opening up significant new markets for hemp and CBD products. But that wasn't the end of it. Progressive regulations on hemp extracts went into effect in Kentucky, New York, and Michigan. A new law in Louisiana clarified that CBD could be added to food and beverages. And probably most important from the hemp growing standpoint, we finally reached our 50th state to legalize hemp production. Thank you, Idaho, for joining us and making this country now completely open to hemp growth. There have also been challenges on the local level and the state level, and a lot of that has to do with how we are going to regulate intoxicating products. 2021 saw a big focus on new intoxicating products from cannabis, most prominently Delta 8 THC. The U.S. Hemp Roundtable's position has been that we want to make sure there are two lanes. One lane for hemp, non-intoxicating hemp. Those products could be sold at retail and in stores across the country. And another lane for intoxicating products, whether we're talking about marijuana or Delta 8. Those are adult use cannabis products and should be limited to adults in the adult use regulatory system. We worked with Michigan to develop what we think is the model for the country, which provides for those separate pathways. And soon after, we saw other states adopt a similar approach, including California, New York, and Oregon. Unfortunately, now we're at a challenging time where we're having to define what intoxicating is. That word means a lot to different people. And drawing that line has been particularly difficult in Oregon, where the local state agency developed regulations, which we believe are quite burdensome and quite unfair, and sweep in many non-intoxicating hemp products into the restrictions of the adult use marketplace. We most recently filed comments in Oregon and developed a survey demonstrating the devastating economic impact these rules would have. Oregon is one state, but as the first to go down this path, we want to make sure that it's done right. So we'll see in 2022 a lot of efforts to make sure that we not only fix this issue in Oregon, but across the country. We draw this line between non-intoxicating and intoxicating products in a fair way, and make sure that those products that are really truly intoxicating are kept out of the hands of kids and regulated as adult use cannabis. As I sit here in our Washington, D.C. office, just a few blocks from Capitol Hill, I can tell you some of our biggest challenges remain when it comes to the federal law and federal regulations concerning hemp and hemp products like CBD. Our biggest challenge for years has been the FDA's obstinance to legally recognize and regulate CBD and other hemp extracts. And frankly, there was not only no change in their position, but there were a couple developments that proved to be even more frustrating. First of all, the FDA rejected two very well sourced and researched and studied new dietary ingredient notifications that were submitted for hemp extract products. They not only claimed that these products could not be the subject of an NDIN because of their interpretation of the law, but they also argued that the companies did not meet the burdens to prove safety. We find from experts that this position is untenable, that the evidence that was submitted clearly exceeded standard regulatory requirements of the FDA. And it just showed that the FDA is continuing to lift the bar, arguing that CBD and hemp products need to meet somewhat impossible safety standards, while at the same time, the real safety public health issue is that there are thousands of products on the marketplace that are unregulated, and some of them could endanger public health and safety. So as FDA dithers on this front, the public health and safety is truly threatened. The other development was the acting commissioner of the FDA, Janet Woodcock, argued that she was not able to take action on CBD because the current law prevents her. She argues that it puts the agency in a stalemate position. We completely disagree with this interpretation, but we realize that it's going to be critical to ensure that the law is changed so that we make very clear that the FDA has the duty to regulate CBD as a dietary supplement and as a food and beverage additive. We launched our Stop the Stalemate and Regulate CBD Now campaign, and so many of you joined in sending emails to your members of Congress to urge them to stop the stalemate and to ensure that the FDA regulates CBD now. This comes in the form of three important pieces of legislation that are pending before Congress. First of all, the bill that has the most support and has considerable momentum behind it is H.R. 841. This is a bill in the House of Representatives that would regulate CBD as a dietary supplement. We now have 37 members of Congress, 24 Democrats and 13 Republicans who have co-sponsored that bill. We expect to see a hearing on that legislation early next year. More recently, HB 6134 was introduced that would complement this by regulating CBD as a food and beverage additive. That has four co-sponsors, two Democrats and two Republicans, all from the Critical Energy and Commerce Committee, and we should see some progress on that in the new year. Over in the Senate, legislation there, S 1698, does both. It would provide legal pathways for the sale of CBD as a dietary supplement and a food and beverage additive. We're really hopeful to see these bills move at the beginning of the year. What will likely happen is once we have hearings, there'll be committee markups to amend the bill. Then we will be looking for must-pass pieces of legislation to attach that language to ensure that it passes by the end of 2022. We need your help. Please go to regulatecbdnow.com and use that as a means to email your members of Congress to encourage them to co-sponsor and to support these important pieces of legislation. Another issue where we've seen some stalemate is with banking. Banking has been a real challenge for our industry for quite some time, but there's been a solution offered, the Safe Banking Act, which has passed the House of Representatives now 5 times by overwhelming margins. It includes language inserted by Congressman Andy Barr, a Republican for Kentucky, working closely with the overall bill sponsor, Ed Perlmutter, a Democrat from Colorado, which provides extra protection for hemp and CBD businesses. Unfortunately, the bill continues to die in the U.S. Senate. A recent attempt to attach it to the National Defense Authorization Act failed in the conference committee. But the sponsors like Congressman Perlmutter are really gung-ho about its passage in the long run. One of the challenges is that some folks over on the Senate argue that we need to address cannabis as a whole and not address pieces of it. But as this continues to delay action, more and more challenges occurred, not just to hemp businesses, but to cannabis businesses overall. And so we are hopeful that with the support of 21 state governors who have endorsed this legislation, that we will see some action on it in 2022. If you're interested in supporting our efforts to make sure safe banking passes this year, go to hempsupporter.com, go to our Federal Action Center. It will allow you to send emails to your members of Congress to encourage them to support safe banking. 2022 should prove to be really important for the general hemp industry in introduction of a bill called the Hemp Advancement Act, which is being led by Representative Shelley Pingree, a Democrat from Maine. This bill will help address many of the challenges remaining from the 2018 Farm Bill that were unforeseen or that were the result of compromises that were not 100% what the industry supported. The first big issue of the Hemp Advancement Act is something that has challenged farmers for the last several years, where they grow crops that test slightly above the 0.3% Delta 9 THC level and then have to destroy a field or a portion of their field of crops because it just barely went over that level. The Hemp Advancement Act would raise the level of THC allowed in the field and in extraction to 1%, which would give farmers significant flexibility and allow them to be less concerned about having to have significant economic loss when weather and other unforeseen circumstances cause their THC levels to increase above 0.3%. But the Hemp Advancement Act also makes clear that only non-intoxicating products can be sold as hemp. And so it leaves the level at 0.3% THC for products, but it expands that definition beyond Delta 9. So it would be a 0.3% total THC level. So there could be products with Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, but they would need to have a total THC level of less than 0.3% to be treated like hemp. Another big issue tackled by the Hemp Advancement Act is the Felon Ban that was part of the 2018 Farm Bill Compromise that currently prohibits convicted felons of getting a hemp license. We believe that if you've paid your time, you should be allowed to grow a crop that is perfectly safe and doesn't get people high. And so we are hopeful that in the passage of the Hemp Advancement Act, that the felon ban will be removed from the current law. The U.S. Hemp Roundtable is proud to have led a broad-based industry effort to develop the policies underlying this legislation and working closely with Representative Pingree's excellent staff through the process. We're looking forward to, at the beginning of 2022, to see the introduction of the Hemp Advancement Act, and we'll be encouraging our hemp supporters in the advocacy efforts on its behalf. In addition to our state and federal advocacy efforts, the U.S. Hemp Roundtable has founded and supports several initiatives to provide community support and expand industry opportunities through research and development, certification programs, and education and advocacy. One of the things we're most proud of is our work with our Minority Empowerment Committee. We unanimously adopted an equity and inclusion framework developed by the Annie E. Casey Foundation. And in doing so, the Roundtable and its member companies and organizations representing most of the industry's key leaders agreed to a multi-year, continually adapting program to promote racial equity and inclusion at every link of the U.S. hemp industry. This was the fruition of the U.S. Hemp Roundtable's Minority Empowerment Committee, through which we advocate for an equitable and impactful hemp industry. This year, the committee hosted a follow-up webinar to one first held in 2020 to help small and minority-owned businesses in the hemp industry better navigate hemp and CBD regulations. We also endorsed and helped to advocate for the Emergency Relief for Farmers of Color Act that is delivering $5 billion in direct relief to Black, Indigenous, and Hispanic farmers and other agricultural producers of color to help them respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as to address longstanding inequity in agriculture. We're also looking forward to the introduction of legislation in 2022 that would help create hemp centers of excellence at minority-serving institutions across the country. Stay tuned for that legislation, and we'll look forward to asking for your support to help getting it across the finish line. U.S. Hemp Roundtable is also proud to have founded and supported our industry's initiative to provide high standards, best practices, and self-regulation for confidence in hemp and CBD products, the U.S. Hemp Authority Certification Program and Seal. As hemp emerges from prohibition to a thriving industry, certification programs have been cropping up like weeds. But not all certification programs are equal. Consumers can feel confident that the U.S. Hemp Authority Seal, with online yearly audits conducted by independent auditors, is the standard certification program that you can trust. The U.S. Hemp Roundtable is proud to work alongside the U.S. Hemp Authority and will continue to help improve upon the certification program as the industry needs evolve. One thing that we've been working hard in 2021 on, and we'll be proud to be launching in 2022, involves the part of the plant that we don't talk about as much, but really holds the key to hemp's future, and that's the fiber side. As U.S. policymakers focus on agriculture sustainability, hemp can prove to be a unique solution to many of these issues. Hemp helps remediate the soil. It uses a whole lot less water than other fiber crops, and hemp products are biodegradable and sustainable. We see 2022 as being the beginning of a process where hemp becomes a very key part of our solution to developing agricultural sustainability. So stay tuned for exciting developments when it comes to hemp fiber and sustainability. Looking back at a year of progress builds tremendous optimism for 2022. We're certainly dealing with uncomfortable growing pains, but the prospects for hemp's future appear tremendously bright. We can't express how important it is for us to have your continued support and action. The hemp industry relies on all of us, and we need you in our hemp supporter army. If you haven't already, please visit hempsupporter.com today and sign up for our hemp supporter email list for free. It just takes a moment of your time to receive the latest industry updates and action alerts, and will help us empower you to build our movement even stronger. Thanks again for all that you do. Let's keep the momentum going in 2022.